Hey, what's up guys, Tony here, and you're watching some more Project Cars. This is GT5, and this is week 3 at Silverstone. And what you'll notice before I get into the rest of the commentary, what you notice in this video is that I qualified 4th, and so it's a pretty good race. But the thing about like the AI, and well, this track specifically, I'm not very good at this track just because of the fact that I only have raced this version of Silverstone a couple of times. Assetto Corsa, Project Cars. The iRacing one is the old version, so that's the one I'm used to, and even at that, I'm not that great at that track, but specifically this one, I'm just not, in this configuration is one that I haven't actually ever raced before, so there are areas that I noticed in practice where I was much faster than the AI in a couple corners, like turn 1 especially, but there was probably 2 or 3 corners where they were just eating up a lot of time on me, so not really the best week. But the one thing is that there was really no forecast of rain, and so what happened is, gosh, midway through the race, all of a sudden guys are heading to the pits. I'm like, well, this is a sprint race, I don't know what you're pitting for. And of course it starts to rain, and so I'm like, it's not really that heavy of rain, so maybe I can make it the entire time on the slicks. And so this is a race where I'm on slicks the whole time when it gets wet, so it's kind of amusing. I think it is. So anyways, I want to give you guys an update. Like I said, I wanted to do it last week, but obviously that did not happen. I just didn't, I didn't really feel like it, for one, and two, I was taking care of several dogs at the same time, and so it was a lot to handle, and we had a bit of a heat wave here, so it was just kind of like, I didn't really want my PC to be on as much as I normally do. Just too hot, you know. So anyways, I think it was last Tuesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, we had my grandmother's evaluations. One was from the care facility, and then the second one was for her insurance company, and both of those went fine. They really weren't anything special, but the second one, there was an interesting sort of test that the insurance lady wanted her to perform. She went around the house and sort of inspected the house, which was really strange because it's not like she's going to be living here for very long. But she went through and she inspected the house, and I think she just wanted to see her living situation, current living situation, and just to kind of get an idea of what she's been doing and the things that she might need at this facility that she's going to be going to. And so we did that. The one thing that was particularly eye-opening was this. It was about 10 minutes of sort of an evaluation of what her cognitive abilities are still. And so for me, it was really enlightening to the fact that my grandmother is still very talkative. She'll talk to people. She won't talk to me. I mean, granted, last night when I got home, I had a function on campus, and so I got back home, and for whatever reason, she was like really happy to see me, and she was smiling, and she was very warm, and she was just not her sort of normal, what I know to be normal now, sort of brooding, quick to anger self. So it was a relief, and it was kind of a recharge. I kind of needed that. I needed to see that loving, warm grandmother that I used to know. I haven't seen that in a long time. So anyways, this test that this lady performed, asking her, you know, the basic sort of Alzheimer's. Do you know what day it is? Do you know who the president is? Do you know what state you live in? Do you know your address? Do you know where you're born? You know, a lot of these questions. And so some of them she couldn't get. She didn't know what state she lived in. She didn't know the day. She didn't know the month. She didn't really know the season. That was the first question. Like, do you know what season it is? And she says, well, it's not winter. It's like, yeah, it's pretty damn hot, Grandma. So yeah, it's definitely not winter. There are other sort of tasks that the lady wanted her to do, such as like put a jacket on that has buttons. So she wanted to see if she could button buttons, put shoes and socks on, shoes with laces, which she doesn't even own. So we're like, she can't really do that. And so the evaluation, like, so she was very friendly. But what I noticed, and because I recorded this just, I guess, for posterity, but I noticed, and I've watched it like 3 times back now, so what I noticed is that she started to get really frustrated by the questions that she was being asked. So she was, I have a feeling that she felt that the tasks and the things that this lady were asking her were obviously like, they're obviously simple tasks, but she was taking it in such a way where she was becoming offended and agitated by how simple these tasks were. And so, for instance, the lady asked her to fold a piece of paper in half, and so she did. And then she said, okay, could you put it on the table? And she did. And then so she would ask her to read a piece of paper, and then she was like, oh, can you read this piece of paper? Can you read this? And she's like, yes, can you? And so my grandmother's still very witty, and so she read it out loud. And but there were certain things that she could not do anymore. So she can't really, she understands like write. She knows how to write. She understands like the idea of writing, but she got hung up on the lady asked her to write a sentence, just write a sentence, and she's just like, well, what do you want me to write about? And the lady's like, whatever you want. So she just, I think she still needs to be, she needs to be directed now. So there were certain things that she just couldn't or wouldn't do, and that was one of them. The jacket was one. The, you know, putting shoes and socks on, we didn't even try, because I told her, I'm like, well, we don't have shoes that tie for her, that she has like these slip-ons. What was the other? There was a couple other ones that were just kind of like, ooh, you know, and it was just oh, copying. She wanted to copy a design, and so, anyways, there are things like that. It was really eye-opening, because for me, I sit here and, you know, I'm here every day and I see what's going on, and so my I guess my belief about her abilities is that she's just not there. And so what my uncle has been talking about is, because she's hard of hearing too. She's practically deaf. So you kind of like have to not shout at her, but talk really loudly to get her to hear you. And so my uncle was saying that something that he noticed is that, or not that he noticed, but that he read about, is that when people start to lose their hearing, they sort of become more inward, and they don't really, they sort of, you know, become, they just sort of, their world becomes inside their own head, basically, because they can't really hear what's going on. So they become more drawn in. And so when she is engaging, she's very present and she's there. So we're going today, so today's Thursday, so we're going today. I'm going to take her to get basically her hearing checked for a hearing aid. And the thought is, my uncle believes that perhaps if we get her a hearing aid when she gets into the care facility, that she might be more social, because she'll be able to hear what's going on. And so, I mean, I'm kind of, while I think that's good. I think that's possible. The thing that I find myself, my experience is that she's not going to want to wear the hearing aid. And so the facility that she's going to be going to, they put them in, they keep track of them for her. So that's not really the issue. But once you put them on her, there's nothing to stop her from taking them off if she's not comfortable with them on. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's a great idea in principle. I just don't think it's very practical. I think she's going to end up taking them off, especially because my uncle wants her to get these like over the ear ones. They're very cumbersome and old, and so we'll see. I don't know. She was very apprehensive and very resistant to using a cane when we got her one for the first time. She just didn't want to use it, and then she just started using it, and now she won't go anywhere without a cane. So maybe the hearing aid will be the same way. She'll be resistant to it at first, but maybe throughout the time and getting used to using it, she'll adapt. And so anyways, the lady said that when I asked her, I was like, well, how far along is she? She said, well, she is far along, but what she said is interesting is that all of her behavior, or all of her basically her symptoms of dementia are all behavioral. They're not like cognitive. So she's aware, she's present, she can do certain things, but it's just how she behaves is you know, she wanders the house, and so she's forgetful of certain things, but she doesn't exhibit certain other signs. She didn't go into specifics, but she was just saying it's all behavioral. So I was like, okay, I could see that. As far as an update on her and the situation, so I can't remember exactly what I had mentioned before, but we had been going through this process where we were going to get her into this facility, you know, sort of an unknown time. We should say, well, we'll get her in when all this paperwork gets taken care of. And so it was actually last week that my uncle was like, this is the critical week. It kind of came out of nowhere. He's like, this is a critical week. We need to get her in now. And so it's looking like her moving date is going to be next Tuesday or Wednesday, one of those days. We're trying to figure it out. So it's happening way faster than I actually thought. My whole thing is I've been expecting to have months, several months to prepare for this, so I could find a job and get out on my own and be financially stable before the move comes. But so what I thought was months has now turned into weeks, and now it's less than a week. Needless to say, it's been, for me, it's been a stressful week. This last week's been very, very stressful, and I'm hoping that it gets better. Now, the sort of the silver lining is that my uncle, he's going on vacation the early part of September, so he's going to be gone for about 12 or 14 days, something like that. And so he's like, hey, you're more than welcome to stay in the house until we get done renovating and get the house rented. So I'm like, okay, cool, I can do that. That works for me. But during the month of September, I'll be responsible for basically getting this house to the point where it can be renovated. So all the furniture and all the miscellaneous stuff, you know, pictures and just collecting up and cleaning the house out for the next month. It's going to be pretty much my job, if you will. That's Indibo's going to have, is be paying me to clean the house up and get it ready to be renovated by you know, some of the guys we're going to hire to carpet and walls, and they're going to have to redo the kitchen a little bit. So I imagine I'll still be here through September, and probably October 1st is about the time, maybe the first couple weeks in October is the time where I'll be departing the house and I'll be moving in with my girlfriend. So it's coming up, it really is. And you know, there have been certain things that I've been going through recently, some anxiety. Like I've never really had to deal with anxiety before. I kind of feel that I'm a very carefree person, and I'm an emotional bottler. That's what I do know that. But the other day, my mom and I were going to go buy her some sheets and blankets and some clothes to take to the care facility, and it was about 12 o'clock. Oh no, sorry, it was 11 o'clock. My mom said she was coming over at 11, and it was about like 10:45, and all of a sudden I just had like this, got a wash of just anxiety, and I was fine. Like up to that point I was just feeling great and fine, and I was just fine. But after that I just got really like moody and anxious, and it was really strange. And so I had asked my buddy Scanner for some help, and you know what, I was really appreciative of the help he gave me, because it helped me to release a lot of that and just kind of consider some of the things that I'm going through, and just sort of looking at is not a bad thing. Like that was one thing, is like I'd feel those feelings of anxiety, and I've just tried to block them, ignore them, and hopefully they just go away on their own. And so he kind of basically was telling me, say, you know, look, this is not a bad thing, and you know, you need to face it head on and deal with it. And so I sort of changed my outlook, and I just kind of like, oh, this, okay, so I'll take a look at this as more of a I guess a positive thing. And so it helped me out a lot. It really did. It was really strange. I was sitting in this department store, and I'm sending these tweets back and forth, and my younger brother was sending me text messages like at the same time. And so I'm like writing to these two people, and so Scanner, you know, he kept, you know, sending me messages, and I just kept reading them, and it just like more and more, like every message was like hitting deeper and deeper, and it's like if you've got a bag of water and you poke a hole in it, it was just like I just had all these emotions like bubbling, gurgling up to the surface, and I'm sitting in this department store like getting ready to lose my shit. I'm like, oh my god, I had to take a walk. I had to like really suppress that, and deal with it later on. Dealt with it a couple hours later. But so anyway, Scanner, if you have to watch this video, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate everything that you've done for me so far, and I know I'll be calling upon your help later on. So anyways, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. The video's probably about over or thereabouts. I'll keep you updated on what's going on later on. So far this week, there's nothing really going on this week, but the move-in date is something that I've been kind of envisioning for a long time, probably since I moved in, and so I do have an idea. I think I've got an idea for the book that I want to write, or just how I want to write it, and so maybe I'll have to brainstorm that with you guys, see how that goes. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I shall talk to you guys later.